And opinions are those of its hosts and guests exclusively. They do not represent any entity, organization, or municipality.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Michael Katchmar.
I'm Tyler.
And I'm Sean.
And this is Lifeguards Off Duty with Dr. Michael Katchmar, the Jersey Shore #1 lifeguard-themed video podcast.
Watch us on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook Live. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever streaming service you prefer.
If you would like to contact us, send an email to drkatchmar@icloud.com. Follow us on Instagram at lg.association.
All right, let's get started.
Let's start the show.
Let's do it.
She said they're gonna lock you up for killing me tonight. And then I bit her lip just a little bit harder. Well, I was so sure it wasn't real. But she's afraid of ghosts. Now I'm sleeping in her room.
Let it out.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Michael Katchmar. Welcome to Lifeguards Off Duty. Today's date is March 22nd, the year of our Lord 2022. Welcome. Thank you, everyone. I want to say we have a guest today, but I want to introduce Tyler. Tyler's here. Tyler, you want to say hello?
How's everyone doing?
And I don't think anybody's
here.
answering you. So maybe we'll get some comments today.
Hopefully.
So today is the 22nd. We're just to remind everybody, we're live on YouTube, Facebook. We're also on Rumble, Twitch, and Twitter, and Spotify and Apple Podcast. You want to just throw some of the stuff up? We'll have our contact information, our email. We'd love for you to give us send us an email. Tell us what you think about the show. If you want to come on the show, you send us an email and we'll get in contact with you. Also, we have our Instagram, and we'll be running these all during the show. So this is our Instagram, lg.association. And the other place to land is my webpage, which is JerseyShoreFrontLegCenter.com. And we have a lot of information in there. So we want to encourage you to go there. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe, hit the like button. We really need you to subscribe. And this is our phone number here when we have call-ins. So without further ado, let's introduce our guest. All right, we want to say hello. So hello, guest.
Hey, what's up, guys?
So yes, great. Listen, first of all, thank you for coming. We're really, really psyched to have you here, and we're trying to. Our lifeblood is guests, so we really appreciate it. And I know you took a lot of time out of your busy schedule to come here. So can you introduce yourself and tell us what your lifeguard pedigree is?
Sure. I Jack Gramlich. I work for Spring Lake Beach Patrol, part-time now. Got a couple other things going on, but this is going to be, I think, my 16th year lifeguarding coming into. Started when I was 16. I worked at Manasquan Beach Patrol for 4 years when I was 16 years old. And then when I was 20, switched over to Spring Lake, which is my hometown. I do a couple other things there, and I've been there ever since. Been part-time now for, it's probably like my 10th summer now, part-time. But I wear that badge with honor of part-time lifeguard. So
Why did you switch to Spring Lake? Just because it's hometown?
Yeah, hometown. I grew up in Spring Lake, and what originally got me into the idea of lifeguarding was I was coerced to join the Manasquan High School swim team, and most of my teammates who I was close with either had lifeguarded in Manasquan already or were going to be trying out. So that's what brought me towards that. Never really had any ambitions to lifeguard, and worked there for a couple of years, and then they moved on. They went to college, finished college, and I had a pretty core group of friends already in Spring Lake, and with it being my hometown, and that's where I volunteer as a firefighter as well. It was just kind of a natural progression. So it's great group of lifeguards in Manasquan at the time, and still to this day, they're a really, really good crew there.
It's funny how, like, so many guys and girls, when you ask them, like, oh, how'd you start lifeguarding? They have that same answer, like, oh, I had no intention of ever being a lifeguard.
None.
I kind of just got talked into it, or it fell into my lap, or...
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just every year I just fall in love with it more and more. And it's, you know, of all the things I do and all the things I have my hands in, it's definitely the one that I'm most passionate about, which I'm sure you guys can relate.
Yeah, we got. You
That's
know
why
what?
we're doing this, right?
But yeah, you know, John Boyd, who I work for, he ran the Seaside Speed Trail since the 20s. He used to say, once you get sand between your toes, you're done. You never ever lose it. And then people ask me when I go away, I go to different parts of the world, country, wherever. They ask me what I do. A lot of times I'll just say I'm a lifeguard.
Yeah, yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, I mean,
It's like I'm a lifeguard who does other stuff to make ends meet.
yeah.
I make the same joke. All summer, I joke around. I say, well, this time of year, I'm a full-time lifeguard, part-time cop. So
Yeah.
everything else kind of takes a back seat. Friends, family, professions. Every obligation you have.
So you're a police officer.
Yes.
Now, is that something you always wanted to do?
No, that's another one that I just kind of had fallen into. I told you guys I'm a volunteer firefighter in Spring Lake, and when I'd gone to college, I was in the city of New Brunswick, went to Rutgers, and honestly was getting my degree to get my degree, but because I was in New Brunswick, I really wanted to be a firefighter, and kind of put a lot of eggs into that basket of trying to take that route. All the while working part-time as an EMT. I had that certification from the beach prior, and ended up working in Wall Township, had a paid ambulance squad that was actually run through the police department, which is kind of unique to this area. Usually you see EMS run either independently or through a fire department. So that was my first exposure to a police department, and I was in my senior year of college, and really got to like the guys, like the department, really good culture there, really well run, and said, you know what, I'm going to take this police test. So at the time I was swimming in college, so I was in pretty good shape, performed pretty well on the test, and came out of college, went back to the beach full time, still wanted to be a firefighter, and the cop thing was, seemed cool, and I got the call for a couple rounds of interviews and ended up getting that job that summer and started the police academy.
Wow.
And couldn't be happier. Yeah. I think with the cop thing, there's people who that's like their dream and they want to do it their whole life. And there's people who not necessarily fall into it because it's still a very hard job to get. But if you don't have any sort of like preconceived notions or assumptions of what the job's going to be, I think it becomes a much more rewarding profession because, you can become kind of jaded quick in that profession, as I'm sure you can imagine, especially with what's going on right now. But if you didn't think it was all, heroics and awards and heroism and whatever else, you kind of go into it blind, and it's been great.
So when you're working on the police department, you ever get called down for an incident on the beach? And then how would you handle that? Because now you were the lifeguard, and I'm talking about an incident with the lifeguards. Not that they did anything, but somebody's being unruly or intoxicated or whatever. So I wonder how, because now you go down there and their side of the story.
Yeah. So thankfully, it doesn't get that convoluted. I work in the town next door as a police officer, and then I lifeguard in Spring Lake. So
what town you work in now? I'm sorry.
I'm a police officer in Wall Township.
There's no beach there then.
No beach.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That was my.
And then no, it's okay. And then Spring Lake is where I do the firefighting and work on the beach as a lifeguard. So I'm never in that situation, but there are definitely times, as I'm sure you can imagine, on the beach where that cop experience helps a little bit dealing with some of the crowds.
Well, you can imagine we go down a lot of times side by side with the police. It's unfortunate, but that's what we need to do. So we have a whole we work very, very close with the police, and there's a lot of drinking on our beach, and there's a lot of different kind of people. But we've learned a long time ago how to deal with the public, and that's something that a lot of lifeguards is a learning curve. Not only to know how to save somebody and to pick out somebody who's drowning, but we have to train these young kids to how to deal with the public and not overreact. And you get called a name or something, you just wash it off, right? We had it this summer. One of the lifeguards
happens every summer.
Every summer,
every day.
We had one of the lifeguards, and we were all sitting on the stand. We're all talking, and this lady started getting in trouble, and we sent him down, and the lady started giving him a hard time, and I saw the body English, so I sent another lifeguard down. And then I could see him looking at me going, oh. So I went down, and this lady and her husband started to, they were getting a little bit aggressive, and she yelled at me. She goes, the only reason you don't let me swim is because you guys can't swim. And I said, well, I can swim better than you. And then the husband kind of bumped into the lifeguard, and there was no fight or anything, but I got it all out. And I said, you guys, we got to leave. And the cops came down, and they left anyway. But the point is that the lifeguard was all upset. He's like, he touched me. I'm like, listen, that was... If he gives you a square upper, gives you a right hand to the chin. That's a touch. Mm-hmm. That's a hit. I said, he just bumped into you a little bit. I said, don't worry about that. I mean, that's
shake
good.
That off.
Shake that off big time. You can't work over here. So
Jack, Do you think that, or well, I think we all know the answer to this, but in what ways did lifeguarding prepare you for the job as a police officer?
Everything. Honestly, you talked about it before with, you hire these 16-year-old kids, and that was me, a 16-year-old kid. And in my case, I'd worked a bunch of odd jobs before that. But in a lot of cases, it's your first job, and it's not just figuring out how to, do X, Y, Z, like most entry-level jobs where it's, you sweep the floor and then you do this and then you lock the doors, whatever. There's like that human element and that dynamic of having to learn how to talk to people and read people and, get them to do what you're asking them to do. And at 16 years old, especially now, I never wanted to be like that old guy saying like kids these days, but now with kids living in their phones and their human interactions limited to begin with, you're seeing a much steeper learning curve than ever.
Yeah.
So that being said, being 16 years old, dealing with those unruly people on the beach, getting comfortable talking to people who might be bigger than you, older than you, have more money than you, more status, et cetera, definitely translates extremely well into policing, and for the same reasons. I mean, you essentially are, in some respects, the law enforcement of the beach when police are absent. So.
That really is something that's hard to teach, too. And I imagine that's why in, like, the hiring process to become an officer, that there is like an emphasis on like the psychology of the candidate, right? Because it's like the only way to learn how to do that, I've found, especially with the younger kids, is just send them down to talk to people. Send them down, they get yelled at, they get shit, and then they come back and they're like, man, like, what did I do wrong? Oh, maybe you should have been a bit more respectful. Maybe you should have like, hey, but like what I like to do is go down to people and be like, hey, can you do this for me? As opposed to be like, hey, I need you to do this. And once you approach the conversation from like a level form of respect like that, it becomes so much easier.
I think you make a good point too about the psychological point, because when police, one thing different about a police officer as opposed to a lifeguard, you guys got a gun. And a gun, the famous director, Alfred Hitchcock, they used to say, what scares you? Because he used to make all those scary movies. And he says, the one thing that scares me the most is a police officer, because they have the ability of life and death. So I would imagine if you're a lifeguard and you've been there for 7-8 years, there would be a history of how you deal with people and how you overreact or interact and not overreact. And I think that's valuable, especially when you go to become a police officer. You're even if they don't even get a recommendation, your mentality has been molded, and you probably are a good candidate for being a police officer, because you wouldn't have lasted that long on the beach. And
exactly.
So and the psychological thing is a good thing. That's a good point. I didn't think about that angle. If you want to become a police officer, a good place to start is on the beach.
Oh, no doubt. And I figured that out a while ago, where not on a personal level, but just seeing some of the candidates that we've hired as police officers and who have been successful in other police departments who I know from the beach, it's almost become, if I hear that a kid's got some lifeguarding experience, I try to coerce them into the direction of they should consider a career in law enforcement. And same thing with the fire department too, where you get them involved in a fire department, and it goes both ways, where like a kid who was a volunteer firefighter and is looking for a summer job, hey man, the beach is going to be great for you, and vice versa. It creates a really good kind of recruiting pool.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, if you were in a position where you were, a police chief and you were the one in charge of hiring candidates, like what effect would the knowledge that a potential officer was a lifeguard, like what would that have on how likely you were to bring them on?
I would say fantastic. And you don't have to necessarily be a police chief or a leader of an organization to be able to recognize what sort of attributes and personality traits are going to allow a person to excel in law enforcement. So I think anyone would tell you that if someone has that experience, having worked on a beach patrol and gets a good recommendation from that beach chief or whoever their supervisor is going to do well in law enforcement for the same reasons. Because it really does come down to just that gift of gab, talking to people.
You make a good point when you said you go down and when you talk to people, you try to get them to do what you want them to do. And that's a really important thing, because that's that's our whole goal. Either move along or don't swim here. And like a lot of times when I go down there, people are upset already, the lifeguard trying to tell them not to swim there. And they're already calling for an office, a supervisor. And when I get down, and one of the first things I do is like, hey, how you doing? What's your name? all of a sudden I just bring it all down. And, oh, you're from Jersey City? Yeah, I was born in Jersey City. And I get this whole conversation. And before you know it, I don't think I just and I try. But that's an important thing. We all learn. We all try. Like
you got to learn how to like start from a level ground.
Yeah, but when you say that they're all different people, like I was taking these people off the beach. They were drinking on the beach and they got really rowdy with me, and the cops came down. There was no physical stuff, but the police said, "Listen, you guys are done. We pretty much do that on our beach. You get off, or you're going to get disorderlies." So we're walking off the beach, and I don't know if you remember this one. The guy's like looking at me, goes, "I really feel bad for you. You're an old guy. What are you making, $15 an hour?"
Little does he know.
And I go, and all the cops, everybody's going, "Tell him." I go, "No, I can tell." I said, "For your information, I make $18 an hour." Remember that when I was
and you're an internet star on top of that.
But you make a good point. Up and down, people who have more money than you, people with less money. You have to. That's something that definitely teaches you, because when you're in your little bubble, whatever our bubbles are, if you're living in a very, very wealthy community, or you come from a middle class or a lower middle class, you need to, when you come on the beach or a police officer, you're dealing with a whole diversity of people, and you got to be able to interface with. That's a talent that takes a long time to develop.
It's a talent, and in some cases you have it or you don't, and in other cases it is kind of like a learned skill set or a learned trait. And you mentioned bringing everything down, and that's de-escalation's everything now in our job on the beach and as a police officer. But there's one guy that I work with, and it happens all the time. You're dealing with somebody unruly, and maybe you just don't mesh, maybe they're violent, whatever it is, and sometimes the officer will call for a second officer to back them up, or a supervisor if it's getting a little out of hand. I work with one guy who, no matter how irate this person is, he's a comedian to begin with, and he shows up to the scene with a big smile on his face and just introduces himself by his first name and extends his hand out for a handshake. And if you're the officer who's there, who is just toe-to-toe with this guy,
you're all fired up. You're like, what do you mean?
You just feel like such a jackass, especially if they start getting along. You're like, this has been horrible, so demoralizing.
And that happens a lot. I mean, I'll go down. These lifeguards are all fired up. The guy was disrespectful. The people cursed down, whatever. And I'll come down, and then our whole, like you said, our whole thing is to de-escalate. And I tell you, anybody listening, that's the key. You want to de-escalate everything. But the lifeguards a lot of times will get mad at me because they wanted some kind of justice.
Well, the young dudes are all juiced up on piss and vinegar. They want to fight.
Yeah.
And I gotta pull them out. Yeah.
From the perspective of like the civilian, right? Because I've been pulled over. I'm sure everyone here's been pulled over. Like, there's the officer that will walk up to your car and like just make you feel like you're in trouble, and like he's gonna like just ruin your day. And then there's the guy that's like, hey, like, where are you heading today? Like, I pulled you over because of this. And it's just real casual. Like, you're not in any big trouble, but you might get a speeding ticket. And I'm not going to be like dismissive of that guy, because he showed me like respect as a human. Just because there's this position of authority doesn't mean that you have to talk to people like you're in control of them.
Yeah, well, I think it's even more than that. It's when you have somebody, that's when you're nice too. But when you have somebody who's not nice, that's easy. You pull somebody. That's if you pull somebody over or go down, and if people weren't really doing much and you be an idiot, that's on you. But it's the real. I think the real key, the real, show of your character is when you go down. Somebody's a total a-hole, and you could make that person do what you want to do, bring it down, and get them to be all happy. And that's talent. That's tough. And me, when I go down, I try, man. But sometimes
and part of it's just like not losing your cool. Like. When you're in that position of authority, when at the end of the day, it's like what you say goes, no matter what kind of fit is thrown by who you're talking to. Right. Well, then there's no reason to lose your cool, right? There's no reason to get emotional. If like I'm going in this situation, I already know the outcome. There's like two outcomes. Like one is like you do what we ask and we remain friends, and the second one is you get kicked off the beach. Either way, like we win.
And there's people you jog with and people you don't, and it's, I'm sure you experience it on the beach where you don't jive with somebody, another lifeguard comes down, they might have a better outcome. And I think that might just be, just really boil it down, like very like simplistic, and it's just clashing personalities. And there's nothing more than that. No one did anything wrong. It's just me and this guy are just going to butt heads. And that is what it is. And
what happened in the bar
everywhere.
too.
Yeah.
So on the beach that you worked at, over the years have you had any memorable times that you could tell us about, like where you had like a really big rescue or some kind of crazy medical thing that happened that was really, really that sticks out in your mind?
Yes, and not necessarily right off the bat sitting right here. I'll be completely honest. Listen to a handful of podcasts, and I know you guys have been asking this question. So last night I was like,
You did some preparation.
I gotta sit down because I know this question's coming, and I don't want to be on the spot. I gotta think about it.
Some people have been caught off guard, like, you got to give me a minute to think about this one.
Well, I
Yeah.
know, like Chip Bruce, the captain of State Park, he has his classical, the one it's iconic, the kayak one,
Yeah.
in 100 foot. The waves get bigger and bigger at the inlet when he went out. And, he's a good friend of ours. So
Okay, cool.
But go ahead. So what?
Yeah, so I knew that you guys were going to ask some questions about the whole cop thing and also being a lifeguard. So I did. I actually went through and started thinking about some of the better rescues we've had. And I think you guys can agree. I know Tim Harmon came on the show, and you guys talked a lot about our after-hours programs that we run over in Monmouth County, and I helped him administer that. But all of my best, craziest, most memorable rescues have been off-duty.
Yeah.
Because there was no proactive element there with a lifeguard, because think about it, majority of our rescues on the beach, they're not going to get that crazy. I mean, there's the off chance, but to some extent, we're there to be proactive and prevent that from happening, the preventative element of lifeguarding. So they're all off duty. So again, that was like a wild setup, but I do have my laptop plugged in. There's some,
let's pull that up here. Let me get
some photo stuff too. So to set this up,
just go ahead.
This was, I gotta log in. So this was,
okay, I'll keep the picture on you.
All right, we're not going to be able to see his password anyway.
Yeah, we don't want to see that. Yeah. Well.
So this was a Friday night in August around 9 p.m. And
all right, let me put it on here. You go.
Yep, this was in Spring Lake.
Right here.
And we got dispatched to a boat that had collided with a jetty. It was at 9 p.m., so pitch black and a Friday night. So the dispatch was wild. Like, we kept getting updates while we were responding there. I forget
what kind of ocean was it? Like, can you give me a little? What kind of ocean was it? Do you remember?
So yeah, I do. I'm going to show you some pictures. So it was probably like 4-foot surf. So enough, and it was like a mid tide. So you'll see when I show you the first picture, there were some waves beating up on the boat. But we were getting all kinds of dispatch updates because there were obviously 9 o'clock on a Friday night. A lot of people on the boardwalk and walking on the beach after dinner, what have you, and we were getting reports of people under the boat, people submerged. There were 8 people, there were 12 people, there were 5 people. There's people in the water. There's people stuck between the rocks on the jetty. All the craziest updates you can imagine. So what's cool about this is there's a guy in Spring Lake who is just an avid photographer, and he's just everywhere at all times. So we actually had a guy there pretty quick who got some pretty stunning photos of this. So this is the first picture. This is the scene that we came up on.
Oh my God.
Now, what's cool about this, and the reason why I brought this up as the rescue I wanted to talk about.
So just real quick, I want to explain this for people who are just listening. We've got the boat right up next to the jetty that crashed into it, and about 6, what are you guys trying to push it off?
No, so this is a collection of off-duty lifeguards and police officers.
Okay.
So actually, that's the chief of police on the boat.
Nice.
So
somebody's got a pair of jeans on. I like that.
Yeah. But he took the shirt off.
I love this rescue for so many reasons because you had like so much interagency cooperation here, and everybody who's out on that boat and on this rescue was on a first name basis. And regardless of what agency you work for, it was because we have a good working relationship with all these other agencies. So
that's important.
When you got out there were no introductions. There were no, well, this is an ocean incident and I'm a lifeguard, or no, this is a police incident because you guys are off duty. Everyone worked really seamlessly together. And the cops in Spring Lake are studs. A lot of good watermen and just all around great public safety professionals. So long story short, this boat was out. They were watching fireworks. The fireworks ended. They gunned it back to whatever inlet they were going back to. The driver of the boat, it was him. He was probably like in his 40s or 50s. And then he had I believe it was his niece and nephew, who I think were like 12 and 13 on the boat. And he was all tuned up. He ended up getting charged with DWI from the state police marine unit. So he crashes into the jetty. He's now on the ground with a significant head injury, altered mental status, and couldn't really communicate with us. And then the 2 kids were up in the bow and just terrified. So minor injuries on the kids, but not really receptive to what we were telling them to do because they were terrified. So this is what we see. And up here you got some of our off-duty lifeguards, which is, as Tim explained to you guys, from 3 different towns, Manasquan, Seagirt, and Spring Lake. So I'm up there from Spring Lake. There's 2 or 3 Manasquan guys up there. The police chief was actually eating dinner across the street and kind of witnessed it happen. So again, he's like the kind of guy who's like, all right, well, you know,
What's
game time.
the vehicle to the left of our
That was
screen?
a beach tractor combing the beach.
Oh, so he came over too.
He came over, gave us a little bit
wow.
of light. Yeah.
So he put the light on. He had to. That was great.
Yep. Yeah, helpful.
That's real helpful. That wasn't planned. I mean, he just happened to be there. Huh? What a break.
The fire department does a lot of great support work for our after hours water rescue stuff on the beach, where we have a lot of scene lighting that we bring down.
See, that's important for night. Yeah.
And we actually outfitted our tower ladder with some additional lighting specifically for ocean rescues at night.
Just want to make a point too, because I'll forget if I don't bring it up. And this is something that you mentioned. You said in the beginning, and this is so important. I want to stress this. You said you got multiple calls, 5 people, 2 people, 12 people, some submerged, whatever. And there's a thing that I always learn, because I'm in the Coast Guard Auxiliary, and there's a thing, it's verify. You don't know what you're going to. Don't overreact, but don't underreact. But try to verify, try to get that's such an important thing. You just mentioned that, because how many different things, you get there and it's totally what, we had one on our beach. One of the kids calls up, says there's 3 people behind on the back of the beach passed out. Now, I called in the National Guard because, I'm thinking 3 ODs, 3 overdoses, and it could be possible. What it turned out to be some woman who went up to the bar and had a couple of drinks, and she was, actually she was having a stroke, but that's still better than 3 people.
I had one time but
you see, that's an important thing that he's.
Yeah, family comes running up to me. They're like, he's spewing blood everywhere. Like his head's cut wide open. So I immediately got on the radio and I was like, hey, headquarters north, we're going to need Triborough here immediately, before I got to the scene.
Right,
and then I got there, and this kid's got like a tiny cut, like it just needed a Band-Aid.
But what did you do then? You just canceled them, right?
Yeah.
And this is where you see a major separation between the fire service and the lifeguards, because we have this really strong contingent of lifeguards who respond on our after-hours team, but lifeguards are indoctrined into this public safety organization where we're constantly there. We're deploying these proactive measures, and we respond to things that we witness. Whereas firefighters are the complete opposite. We're 100% reactive, where we're used to getting these insane reports from dispatch. I mean, it's drilled into us that whatever the dispatch is, you assume it's true. You call what you need. If you get there and it's anything less than that, you can always send them home. So it's funny when you have these after-hours incidents. I find that the rescue swimmers we train through the fire department do a better job of getting there, because they're used to tones drop on that pager, you get the phone alert, you're up, you're in your car, you're running, you don't put shoes on, it's whatever. Whereas the lifeguards are like, oh, I got a call, all right, what beach is that? And it's just, their brains don't click the same. I'll never make the argument that anyone's going to make a water rescue better than a lifeguard, because they're not. Yeah. But when it comes to this after-hour stuff,
I think that what I was trying to mention, my point of that dissertation that I said, is that you need to verify, though. I mean, it's good where you put all the assets out, but a great example was in State Park. They had that big festival down there. It had hundreds and hundreds of boats, and Chip Bruce, who's the captain down there, was telling me the story. They only have a certain amount of resources. So they were going on wild goose chases, trying to take care of one or the other. And if the Triborough is dealing with something that's low key, and there's somebody who really needs an AED and is having a heart attack, you only have limited amount of resources. And that's what happens on our beach. And we will not. I make sure I check everything before we make the call. But I think that it's important that you made that whole thing. A lot of times you'll get a whole bunch of calls. Lavalette, all the time. There's these people who go swimming in the morning, and we'll be working out there, because I train with Lavalette, and you get a call. There's somebody out there drowning. Somebody from the Boardwalk calls. They don't know. And then
meanwhile, it's like a college swimmer getting a morning
workout. It goes to county, and then it gets blown up, and then before you know it, it's somebody going down. There's 10 people drowning, and it's just some guy swimming. So anyway, so go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
it's a good point. So go ahead.
So I'll wrap this up. Just from a rescue standpoint, we took, as you can see here, we took the victims off the boat. We strapped PFDs on them and escorted them down the jetty. Hindsight 2020, I don't know the best way to handle this incident. It's not something you can really train for. The water was a little turbulent that night, so I thought it'd be easier to maybe just throw them off the boat and swim them in. But again, when you're dealing with rough surf, this worked out fine. They didn't sustain any additional injuries. Yeah, so we got him off that way. But then this guy, again, major head trauma, altered mental status, rapid trauma assessment revealed he might have a cervical spine injury. And at the time, we've kind of gotten away from going C-spine, but this is 2015. It was kind of before that advent. So what we ended up doing was strapping him onto a backboard and then into Stokes, and then getting them
Wow.
off there like that. So
How bad was that boat bombing around?
the boat was rocking like crazy. Actually, you see from picture to picture, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
And it was sketchy. I mean, definitely one of the sketchiest ones.
See, I'm and I got a captain's license, I got a, what do you call it? A master's. I with a boat like that, I would have done what I would have tried to think. If I was there, I would have, not that, but to get lines on that boat and try to secure it so it didn't move as much. But
But what do you secure it to?
maybe to rock somewhere, that's why you got to know your knots.
I don't think there's anything to tie it to. Trust me, I've wrapped my head around this. The Coast Guard, typical Coast Guard, they show up 15 minutes after the fact, and whoever it was comes up on the beach and he goes, oh wow, this was impressive. You guys should have just called for a helicopter. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, call for a helicopter.
No, you did the best thing. You did the best
That
thing.
was good, and I love this picture too because again, my passion is interagency operability. And right here, you got 3 Spring Lake police officers, 2 Spring Lake lifeguards, 2 Manasquan lifeguards, and a secret lifeguard working seamlessly together to get this done. It's really cool to see.
How slippery was those rocks too?
Oh, it's brutal.
And
Like I said, at mid-tide, you can see they're
algae.
wet, so they're usually submerged. It was,
man.
it was.
That's dangerous.
It was wild.
I don't think people. Looking at that thing, that is a huge. You guys could have easily, got your legs caught between the boat and the jetty, broken a leg, snapped it off, cut it right off.
We were all bleeding pretty good after that, just from like the barnacles and stuff.
Yeah.
And I shame on me.
Yeah.
I forget most people are listening. So just to explain those pictures, we got the 2 victims off, strapped them on PFDs, escorted them down the jetty, and then for the final victim with the head trauma, we got him in a C-spine, secured him to a backboard, secured him to a Stokes, and then kind of leveraged the Stokes, kept it on the ground at all times because we didn't really have steady footing. We made a chain and just kind of handed him off person by person from the boat down to the jetty, kind of slid him down the rocks. And then we probably had another like 25, 30-foot gap of about chest deep water that we had to get him through to get him up on the beach.
Imagine like slipping on those rocks while you're holding him. Or, geez.
Yeah,
it was sketchy.
Can you put that picture? Can you put that picture back on?
Yeah, sure. Which one?
The last one. The last
Where
one.
he's boarded?
No, the one before that. The one where the board's coming, where you're putting the board right there.
Yeah.
So think about that. That boat's moving. I wish we had a moving. That boat's moving. You got this. How much do you think the guy weigh? He looks like he's
got a gut.
He's a big dude.
He's a big dude. He's probably what, 200.
When you're telling war stories, it's you got to knock off 50 pounds. So if I tell you he was like 300, he was probably like 250.
This
guy was 400 pounds.
And then
I lifted him by myself.
And then you guys got you got wet jetty. People don't know what how dangerous that is. And you got to move this guy. You got to be in good shape too. You got to have a lot of core strength, and that's how dangerous and to get him off that boat. That's a great job. That's a good rescue there.
I'll show you one of my favorite pictures from the night. So I told you, this is like prime time Friday night. So again, from the pictures I got from this photographer from that night, that was the boardwalk watching this.
Wow.
You had hundreds of people there.
Yeah.
So talk about not wanting to make a mistake or acting like a jackass.
Yeah.
Pretty funny.
Yeah.
Was the boat taking on water?
It was not. It was not. It was
Wow.
rested on the rocks. I don't know what the damage was. It was there for a couple hours. They had to come. I think they actually.
Sea-tow take it.
I don't know if Sea-tow took it or it was too precariously placed. I want to say they might have pulled it up on the beach.
Really?
And then got rid of it from there. I can't quite remember.
Oh.
You know how it is after things like this. So
They got that.
Go back to someone's house, have a couple beers.
Yeah.
I didn't stick around to find out.
You know the shoreboard, the advertisement boat?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That thing will come so close to the sandbar, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I thought I'm gonna have to swim out.
That board's
to
like a sail, so you get that strong east wind one day, and it's like, my man, it's got the smallest motor you can imagine on it. It looks like a fishing dinghy. I'm like, are you all right out there?
One of the things I want to research and is there was a those fishing boats that go out of Barnegat and also Point Pleasant, the big fishing boats. I don't know, they hold a couple hundred people. I don't know how big.
Yeah, the big charter boats.
Yeah, there's one that went aground south of the Barnegat Inlet. And the Coast Guard was involved, and I didn't get involved in it, but I know that they told the lifeguards that they could evacuate the people. So they had that boat rolling around, and they pulled all those people off. That was an amazing rescue. I'm going to try to get somebody who dealt with that, but I heard that was crazy. It was a lot of people, and a lot of those guys were probably not in good shape. They had to get them off that boat into the wash and onto the beach.
Yeah, we dealt with a lot of boat emergencies when I worked in Manasquan. I worked at the south end, so we handled the Manasquan Inlet, which is a pretty heavily trafficked inlet in the summer.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of boat issues, jet ski issues, people flying off jet skis, a lot of boats that would die in the area of the jetty that we'd have to physically swim away from the jetty until Sea Tow could come, or we'd get another craft to come pull them. So it's common.
With your and at night now on the bay, you guys get many calls for the bay incidents, like with boats or
so we don't
at night. Nobody does that. Nobody
we don't
does
have
the
any
bay.
bays or anything.
What about so as a lifeguard, not from the police, but the lifeguard? Where do you guys? What's your jurisdiction?
So we just have the beach. I know it's hard for you Ocean County guys to wrap your heads around it.
Right.
We don't. We're like not a
That
barrier.
damn Barnegat
I
Bay.
know. But I'm joking
I'm
with you.
trying
But
to
yeah,
think. I'm trying to think what's up there.
We're not a barrier island.
Well, Point Pleasant. Well, so you don't go. So what's your? So how
Point
far?
Pleasant does. So again, I told you we have like the tri-towns that work together
Right,
for our
right, I'm
after
trying
hours
to think
response. Manasquan does in fact have some, not necessarily Back Bay, but they have the Manasquan River that filters into the Manasquan Inlet, and then in there's like some lagoons and stuff where people have houses on the water, and one funnels into like Stockton Lake, the other one kind of goes into Point Pleasant a little bit. Right. So in that sense, yes, they do cover the bay, and that's our team's responsibility as lifeguards, coupled with Manasquan.
So we have a huge bay presence. In fact, now Seaside Seaside Heights Fire Department, or the police department actually, just bought some kind of watercraft. So they're going to start patrolling now our back bay. It's been getting crazy. There's tons of boats that are rafting up. People are drinking. There's jet skis starting to fly all over the place. So it's becoming really dangerous.
And what they'll probably find, because we just put a Marine 27 in service, it's Manasquan's fireboat, and I mean, talk about a tremendous asset that like really helps us out. And Tim talked about it as well. Awesome guys who run that program. You should honestly probably get one of them on the show. They'd have a lot to talk about, but they'll tell you, because they've said it multiple times, and I've noticed it too, you don't realize how many emergencies there really are until you're getting called to them, where so much stuff used to just be handled by themselves or by other boaters or by the state police marine unit, who has a boat back there sometimes, Coast Guard. So until you actually get that thing in service and get the word out, you're gonna see that there's stuff going on back there that you didn't even know about. I mean, that just used to go unnoticed.
Oh yeah. Well, Tyson Shoal is one of the places. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that place is packed, and it's just it's on the other side of on the bay, on the just about mid. I guess it would be maybe a mile or two from the bathing beach, and they have their own. Actually, now they have their own tower there, but they get on a weekend 400, 500, 600 boats.
Really? So they got a tower back at Tyson Shoal?
More. Yeah, it's crazy. It gets crazy.
So what is that? Is that like you got to like earn that spot? Is it a punishment? Is it for like the new guy? Like who has to sit that stand?
No, I think it's a whole tower. No, I don't know if they have a tower down there. I'm trying to think. Chip was talking about it because they have the north and south tower, and I think the south tower runs that part of the beach. And but you could go. What you could do is you could park your boat there, and if you park it shallow enough, you could walk, or a dinghy.
Yeah,
there's a dock. And it's tons.
It gets wild. It's like a massive party every weekend there, right?
Yep.
Totally. Imagine being that lifeguard just sitting there watching people party all day.
That's why I was wondering. Like, is it something? Is it desirable?
Well, no, there's no lifeguard on the bay.
I doubt it.
Oh, it's not on the bay. Okay.
The lifeguards are on the ocean for that beach. So the people come from the bay. That's the thing. Nobody's watching. There's no lifeguard down there. And they'll get called, like you said, when it should have been. There's a broken neck, or most of the time it's diving accidents. Mm-hmm. They get drunk, they dive off top of the boat, and they break their neck in the shallow water. I've had people. I'm on call to the ER at community, and I'll get calls from people injuring themselves. One lady chopped up her foot on the propeller, stuff like that. They're cutting glass, on their foot and ankle. But yeah, they're drunk. They get hammered down there. I don't think there's anybody not. Tell them they can't drink. So I don't know.
I broke my foot on a rescue once. I'll call you next time.
How'd that happen? Tell us about that.
Yeah.
That was it was great. It was like I was getting coffee at a coffee shop on Ocean Avenue in Belmar, and I'm walking out, and I see two patrol cars come flying up, slam on the brakes, and the two cops jump out and they grab torps out of their trunks, like the rescue cans that they carry. Mm-hmm. And I kind of look up. It was a pretty rough day, September weekend, and I see like 3 heads floating out in the surf, just getting crushed. And I was like, oh, this is rescue. Someone called 911. Like, I can help, So like hero time, run across the street. I take like 3 steps and just whatever that bone is on the very outside of your foot. That runs
fifth
underneath.
metatarsal.
Fifth metatarsal. Yeah. So I broke my fifth metatarsal.
Yeah, an avulsion fracture. Yeah,
Just
that's
like
a
you just
common one.
stepped on it weird?
Yeah, just being a jackass. Yeah. So thankfully, adrenaline rush. One of the officers and another bystander I made the rescue, got the kids out, and then the second I got back on the beach, you get like that adrenaline dump, and I was like, okay, I can't walk.
Yeah, that hurts. Yeah, I get a lot of those people get, it's a twist.
I broke my foot at the polar bear plunge once because I tried, those A-frame signs on the boardwalk.
Yes.
The polar bear plunge is a drinking event. I'm sure. Have you ever done it?
Familiar.
Yeah. I was hammered by like noon, and me and one of the other guys that used to work to the beach were like racing back to his house, which was like a mile away, just running as fast as we could. And he jumps over this A-frame sign on the boardwalk, and I follow him, and I just like rolled my foot over like that on itself. Didn't feel a thing. Went back to that, like got up, sprinted back to the house, and then woke up like 7 o'clock the next morning and went to take a step on it, and it was the most excruciating pain I've ever felt in my life. I was on that couch for like 3 days.
Yeah, we all done. I had one where our beaches, we have our decks, we put lines on the bottom, and sign says employees only, so people don't walk up into our headquarters all the time. Mm-hmm. So I was at the north end. I was going to get back to the stand, and I think I was sitting with two other lifeguards, and I went and got coffee and stuff. I see guys wanting things, so I'm walking down, and instead of putting it down and undoing the line, right?
You tried going over it?
I tried going over it. I went right down, spilled everything, blew out my knee.
It's like we have these long ramps that lead over the dunes up to our headquarters, and at the end of them we have like a yellow line, like the line we swim out, hooked to a sign that says no exit or lifeguards only or whatever. And if we're on a break and a rescue happens, you gotta sprint down that ramp to get to the beach. And I can't tell you how many times I've tripped on that line trying to jump over it, or I've seen other people
cause our own injuries.
You're going full sprint and you just clip that thing. You have the biggest burn on your shin. Oh,
yeah, we're good for like.
You out.
I want to say we're good on the beach for maybe 2 or 3 lifeguard stand related injuries every summer. We're just like a little ambitious, skipping a couple extra steps on a rescue, or just like you're tripping going up it, or splinters or something.
My God.
Well, that's why one of the reasons why some of these beaches have the aluminum stands, because they're lighter. That was one of the reasons why Seaside Park had aluminum stands, because the one of the administrators used to be our administrator, and over the years in Seaside, we've had enough workman comp issues, mostly like a broken toe or and
we move our stands on an almost daily basis up and down the beach. I mean, those things weigh a ton. It takes 4 lifeguards.
Yeah, you guys are. Our stands are, and so that's why they went with the lighter ones. But I'm not so sure. I like. I was talking to Jerry Faulkner down in Miami Beach. They have their towers. They don't move. They're lightning protected, and they stay in those things. I guess they have air conditioning too. That'd be pretty neat.
They're like art projects.
Just grounded, right?
Yeah, they're grounded. Yeah. Well, that's another thing too. So anyway, on your beach though, so the off beach rescues or say after hours are the biggest ones.
Of course,
and the during the day on your beach, like say for summer, what would be the average amount of rescues up that beach? Like I know every summer is different, but how many?
Yeah, every day is different too. I mean, there's the days that your shorts don't dry because you're just in and out all day. You're making pics, or I know Lemke was on here telling you guys we do water patrol if we have some rougher days. Our beach has always been of the mindset that we're there for a reason. We're there to ensure a safe bathing environment for our patrons. So it's very rare that we red flag it. We want to give patrons the opportunity on a nice day to be in the water. That being said, it's never going to be a safety issue. If it's dangerous and needs to be red flagged, it's going to be red flagged. But if it's just kind of a rough day, we're going to have lifeguards in the water doing water patrol, allowing these people to enjoy the beach and the water, but still be safe doing so. So there's busy days like that, and then there's days that you don't even you don't go in a single time.
So our beach has no jetties, and we never had we had the piers, so we understand how to work a pier.
Yep.
And so I ask you, how do you for our audience, if they're going to a beach for the first time, what's the downside, the danger about a jetty, and if say there's how would you recommend? How do you work that as a lifeguard?
The jetties are kind of the root of all evil. I mean, as geographically, we use them to divide up our beach. So our beaches are divided up by jetties. So like one stretch of jetty will have 2, maybe 3 lifeguard stands, and every 2 or 3 jetties is a different crew with a different crew chief. Break it up that way. But beyond that, the jetties are everything. I mean, you get a long period swell, and that's where all your water's going to pool. And that's where our rip currents are going to be worst. If you have like a narrow jetty or 2 bigger jetties, that'll trap a lot of that water. Currents and holes in the sand, everything else. I mean, I feel like it just kind of amplifies rip currents.
People want to walk out on the jetties.
Oh, the jetties themselves? Yeah, I was
Yeah,
thought we were
that
talking
too.
about like water and everything.
No, well, water.
Yeah,
I mean,
water
so
moves it
you have a
around
lot
and-
of rescue. So you have a lot of the runs run along the jetty. I mean, I'm asking you a question. So I see that.
Yeah, people are like attracted to them. I don't know where it comes from. They're just so fascinated by
Are
it.
people always trying to like jump off them?
Yeah,
and shit?
people are always trying to not necessarily jump off it. Thankfully, we can get to them before that happens. Usually,
You can see them like
whistle
I'm
them off.
going.
Yeah, whistle them off.
Like when I trained at La Valette, I mean, there's jetties there, so we used to race each other, and we would cut the jetties as hard as we could. And I mean, a lot of times I would get thrown into the jetty. So, but yeah, scrape my
there's like
stomach.
there's a jetty. Hopefully, our boss isn't listening to this. There's a jetty. There's a jetty on the E&S crew that you can kind of shoot it in a kayak from point to point if it's like the right tide and the right swell. So we've been known to do that a few times, and that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've almost hit a couple jetties riding boat waves. Riding the boat. Joe and I, we do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, La Valette. You come close. You'd be surprised. But I was just wondering from a lifeguard standpoint for our audience, because I could see that being a unique scenario. You got to keep the people away. The people keep on going on top, and then if you have to make a jetty rescue. I mean, people getting banged into the. I would imagine if they're on the leeward side, if they fall off and they go into where the waves are crashing, that could be a real tough. How would you do
I
that?
can actually show you. We had just that happen. So I have some video from a news segment, probably 2-3 summers ago now. Again, off duty after hours.
Right.
Actually, it was postseason, so there were some lifeguards working. But at Manasquan Inlet, where people are actually allowed out on the jetty to fish, we had a fisherman fall, sustain a head injury. I think the ultimate cause of death was drowning, subsequent to him being rendered unconscious from the head injury. But it turned into this wild technical rescue where you had this guy face down in the water beneath the doluses, which are like the T-rocks out at the end. I'll bring that up if you want to flip that back over.
Because I was watching a rescue on YouTube, and they were caught in a jetty or the run off the jetty, and they were trying to. One lifeguard went out just by himself and tried to swim the person in, and the run was cooking so bad. He wasn't making any leeway. So then another lifeguard came, and what they did is they went parallel to the beach, added a run, and then came in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the kid was trying so hard to bring the other
Doc, what's your
lifeguard.
Wi-Fi here? Because I just linked it to the video.
It's.
Do you have any?
Yeah, it's just password.
Is it the
It's
Krusty Krab?
No.
What's the name of it?
It should be Mike.
Mike? Got it. Mike 556?
Yeah, just
So now,
everybody here.
anyone who can figure out where our studio is
It's just password.
All right.
can get some free Wi-Fi if you post up outside.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, they'll be getting us. Just went over,
Oh, man.
You might have to change that after this episode.
Nah, I don't think so. We'll be.
I think you'd be right. Yeah, this is a hell of a way off the beaten path just for Wi-Fi. So this is an article, but someone actually had a drone up and took some video and submitted it to.
But I could see that. We used to have Pier Rescue, so it used to run off the pier, and you'd have to be prepared to go into the pier, and we would try not to have the patient, I call them patients, get banged up into the pilings with the barnacles. But that was a real tough thing. And it used to run there at the end of the day.
That was before my time.
Yeah, when we had the pier, Casino Pier used to go way, way out. And then at the end of the day, on a southeast blow, all the water would start to hit the pier and then run out. And it didn't have to be that bad of a day. A couple 2 to 3 foot swells. Most of the day it wasn't that bad. And but when that southeast, started bringing everybody down, that beach would become the hottest beach in the afternoon. It was tough, especially when they got real close to the pier. So you have that.
I got the video up, yeah. And you want to, so you'll see this is the Manasquan Inlet. This extends a couple 100 yards out past the beach. This is at the very, very end of it. And the fisherman fell right here. And you want to talk about heroics? I'll play the video now. But
yeah.
I think there was a Manasquan police officer who was the first one out there. And you want to talk about a guy. What's that?
Is there any narration? Do you want to unmute it?
There's not. No.
Okay.
You want to talk about a guy who really gave it all. This guy was down there in his police uniform, keeping this guy's head out of the water. There was a female lifeguard from Manasquan there. I won't drop any names, but she was pregnant at the time, and she was out there. Just pure heroism by these guys. So again, just a really unique situation here where trying to get the Stokes down to him and setting up some lines and stuff to support that. And he ended up passing away. It was a drowning, but
that's so tough because you said he was face down, right?
Yeah.
Was he like feet up,
you can see the
head
distance now that we had to walk.
Because it's
Wow.
like, because now you're faced with the decision, like, all right, do I get this, like, just try to get this guy's head above water so he can breathe, or like, how do we stabilize him as we do that? And,
Yeah.
And with all these rocks in the water, I mean,
So that's
wow.
another thing too. Like I'm anticipating lifeguarding, hopefully catching up. But we always err on the side of an unresponsive victim that we pull out of the water. C-spine precautions, right? But I think it's something like less than 0.9% of drowning victims actually sustain some sort of head injury that compromised their C-spine. And a lot of times we get them on these boards, we throw them in the collar, and you're compromising their airway. So it just completely goes against what we believe with the ABCs.
And you're taking that extra time
And
to
you're
like
taking
sort
the
through
extra
that.
time, yeah.
you
So
know?
it's just it's something that I think we need to get away from. You're seeing EMS start to get away from that, and USLA
Yeah.
will hopefully catch up.
Hopefully. Maybe we'll have to talk to Chip more about that.
What's that? The what do yeah.
Yeah.
So explain. Go. Let's just bring that up. Just expand that on a little bit,
Sure.
because that's an important point you make. So can you explain what you just went through again, so the audience could hear that again and understand?
The medical stuff?
Yeah. Why you
Geez,
do?
all right. I hope I can speak somewhat intelligently.
No. Why are you doing what you're doing? No, it's important because you don't want to make you don't want to try to make the situation worse.
You do not want to make the situation worse, correct? And
But-
we've been taught, we were indoctrinated. I'm sure you were, Tyler. I don't know when you started lifeguarding, but it was like we do all these different methods of getting people out of the water who are unresponsive in a way that we think is going to immobilize their cervical
Stabilize
spine.
the neck. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, like,
that's what they were teaching when I
Yeah.
started too. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, like they still teach the Hawaiian sling on all these beaches, which does.
is what
That's
exactly
where you have the
what-
one guy come underneath
Okay.
your
Yeah.
arms and hold the head. And listen, it might be a good technique to move somebody, but in no way is that immobilizing the spine. It's just an unsafe practice. But then also, the whole thing is ABCs. You see basic CPR certification here, right? Early access, early defibrillation. That's what's going to give us our best chances of survival. And we are busy out, finger fucking in the water, trying to get a patient on a backboard, right? I mean, you guys probably do this in service training all the time. We still do it too in Spring Lake, and unfortunately, a lot of the powers that be, it takes a while to change these protocols, and so we still have to kind of live by that law. But it's extremely rare that you see a drowning victim having sustained a head injury or C-spine injury.
And we need to like have the confidence and the backing to be able to make the decisions like, no, this person's got to get out of the water before we deal with anything.
Get them out of the water, get an airway, get the pads on them, dry them off.
One of the
Yeah,
things.
there's definitely got to be some more clarity on that.
Right. Well, you make a good point. It's all about, like when I get a patient in the office, I make the diagnosis by history. And so you're making a kind of point. If somebody's riding waves and it's a big ocean and all of a sudden they're just floating there, you have to, and the lifeguards should be watching this. Everybody should be knowing. I would be more inclined that that individual has a broken neck in that scenario. If it's a flat day and, I see some woman holding up some guy's arm, and they're about 4 foot of water, I'm going to be more inclined that that's a drowning or they seizure
Or a heart attack.
or a heart attack or a drug overdose, something like that. And we've had them.
Well, we had that one time.
Yeah. We had one where the beach was being closed up and the guy shot underneath the pier, shot up heroin and went in the water and he passed out. And if it wasn't for the grace of God, he was underneath the water, basically sucking in air, water. And this woman who just saw him, she just didn't know what, she grabbed his arm, was holding up like, hey, let's get. And just so happened, we were driving by. I wasn't me, but it was the lifeguards who were picking up the flags, and they dragged him out of the water. I actually saw my binoculars. I thought it was a fight or something because they were taking this guy out
Saw the
sideways.
commotion, yeah.
Well, it looked like, because it was all of a sudden, what was
Someone
going on?
took
The
him
water
out.
was thick. The water was like, I went down and he was spitting up. He was breathing. He had all that white foam. I knew
Yeah.
he was in big trouble.
That's years of experience
Yeah,
at Seaside right
yeah,
there.
yeah. Oh, yeah,
That's
yeah,
not
yeah,
a victim. This is a fight.
No, well, that's good. Well,
Luckily, we've been moving away from that.
Unfortunately, you talk about odds. It's most likely that a broken neck. Well, it's most likely a fight. So
We're trying to live by that principle of de-escalation these days.
Yes. Don't assume the worst.
Yeah,
No,
especially with all the cameras out there.
2 summers
Yeah.
ago, we were going down, and I got called down for a disturbance, something on the beach. I don't know what it was. Somebody drinking, somebody smoking. They were upset. It was just a very low key thing. And I go down there, and as I'm down there, there's this guy comes from my right to my left, and just starts wailing on this other guy. It was a kid actually, and I just beating him. I mean punching the heck out of him, and then what happened is he fell on a small tent with a baby in it. And then they start, you killed my baby. And then, another one fight, then a push, and it became this really...
A riot.
And we all came down and we put a kibosh on it. We didn't hurt anybody. But the guy took off. And later on, the cops found him. They did an interview and everything. And they brought him back to me. And they're like, well, what do you want to do with him? But he was a father beating up his son. His son stole his wallet or something. You remember, were you there
You
for
little
that?
shit.
Yeah.
No,
But my point...
what's crazy is like, so much of that bullshit happens in Seaside Heights that literally, like, every time I get together with the guys and girls that we work with, I'm hearing a new story about something like that I'd never heard before.
Yeah. But let me just finish this one. We're talking about. I think you make a good point about getting people out. The quicker you get a defibrillator, the better off they are. Because and especially with drowning too. If they did, we used to have suction, but you need to aerate them.
You do, and that's the thing too with your standard, the AHA guidelines for CPR instruction that we all do. We still have that BLS certification. They don't aerate them. They don't touch much on drowning specific cardiac arrest. So
Triborough right now, last year, they don't train their people. They don't even touch the bag. They don't aerate. It's just CPR defibrillation. And
so like the hands only CPR, right?
And even their trained personnel, unless I'm like, well, if it's a water, you need to aerate them. And in fact, I noticed for sure because I don't know, 3-4 years ago, I did CPR on a woman. I had to shock her 3 times, and I was doing the bag. And I when Triborough came, because I was doing everything for a while, and she didn't know how to use it. And later on, I was talking to the senior paramedic, and she goes, "No, we don't teach them how to do that. Just we just tell them to do this straight CPR."
It's horrible. I mean, my personal opinion is we're lifeguards. We should be qualified and comfortable providing a higher level of care, and with that comes bag valve mask and airways, nasal, oral, whatever it is. I mean, that's stuff that we should be doing on a regular basis for an apneic patient that we come across.
And a lot of times too, when you talk about that, if you just open an airway. So I got a call. Woman's on the boardwalk, passed out. So I go there, and there's this woman. She's on the one of the benches. You got the regular bench. Her head is down. Her chin is touching her chest. She has vomit from her nose, her mouth, everything, and she's out. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go again. I figured I would, And you know what the thing is? I put her on. My colleague and I, we put her on the ground, and all I did was open up her airway, put her head back, and that was it. She started breathing.
Sometimes it's all it takes.
It's all it took.
Just open that airway.
And I was like, I was happy for that.
Yeah.
I was happy for that. But but if nobody touched her, she probably would have been in cardiac arrest. She wasn't breathing, so she's in probably respiratory arrest.
But that's another thing too. We talk about it's more than just the C-spine immobilization. When you bring somebody out of the water who's apneic and you suspect drowning, what do we teach for how do you open the airway if you suspect a neck injury? The jaw thrust, right? Which, it's not as easy to do as a simple head tilt chin lift. So in a lot of cases, you're not even effectively opening the airway when you're just assuming everyone you bring out of the water has a C-spine injury because you're just doing the jaw thrust. You're not actually getting the airway open by doing the head tilt chin lift. I got some colleagues who are back surgeons, and I ask them about this. How dainty, how at risk, and some will say, the damage is done. I mean, unless you really move that person crazy, really crazy. I mean, but again, the other side of the coin is usually with a C2, spinal transection, you don't stop breathing. That's not all. A lot of times they don't, and unless it's higher up, and they don't go into a cardiac arrhythmia. Supposedly they get they go into a bradycardic, scenario. So that's a good thing. We had one I don't know how many years ago, and he went down there. He hit his head on the beach, and it was all bloodied, and he was paralyzed. He had nothing. And but what was interesting with that, I didn't have to do anything. I mean, his friends brought him out of the water, so he was on the beach. We just had to get him up. They didn't bring him up far enough, so the waves were coming in, and I just packed sand around his neck until we got a collar on him. Hey, there you go. It works.
Oh, it works great. I mean, it works great. I mean,
love that.
Yeah. Just put the sand around, but you got to think. I like that what you do when you do the off beach because, we're preventable. But when something happens on our beach or at your beach, it's you have protocols. You follow it. But when you go out there on a call, there's no. I mean, it's like you said. How do you do that boat? You got to be thinking.
Yeah,
and
that's why, I mean, how do we
improvising?
Right. I mean, but you want to take kind of the guesswork out of it, and that's why it comes down to train, develop a policy, train to that policy, train to that standard, get the FaceTime with everybody. I mean, some other stuff here too. If you guys want to talk about some of the training efforts we do.
Yeah, I want to hear that. Yeah, absolutely. Let's.
I'll bring it up. I saved it, but I mean, multiple times throughout the summer, we do these multi-agency drills, and we try to change the scenarios up. So that incident I showed you before, that occurred at Manasquan Inlet.
Right.
We have trained to that exact incident with the same groups of people before that even happened. And in that case, I believe it was Manasquan OEM who put that on. But again, all these incidents that happen after hours, you have Spring Lake, Seagirt, and Manasquan Lifeguards working in conjunction with whatever that local police department and fire department is. Manasquan Fire Department, very active in water rescue because they have that killer Coast Guard boat. I'll show you some stuff we do with that. And Spring Lake, where I'm the fire chief, has a lot of rescue swimmers, and even if you're not a rescue swimmer, you're not comfortable in the water, we train these guys they'll understand what needs to get done to these large scale incidents. And everything from forming a chain, if you do have a submerged swimmer, you don't have to be like the best swimmer, a lifeguard caliber swimmer if conditions aren't that bad and you're just kind of being a body out there for a chain. So I'll show you some of that stuff on here.
Tell me when you.
But like I said, once if not 2 or 3 times a summer, we try to do some of the bigger interop training. So let's see. Oh, I got some videos here. So this is one.
Yeah, let me pull it up.
So this is Manasquan's fireboat, Marine 27. These guys are awesome. And
ooh, that's a nice one.
Yep. So we actually trained, and again, we trained to this, and then we did it where it was a really rough day. We had limited manpower. Guy did a paddleboard rescue. Actually got out there, got the victims who were outside the surf zone, and said, you know what? I'm not comfortable paddling this guy in. Let's do a direct pickup on the boat and just bring him into the Coast Guard station. And they did just that. So this is us practicing it in training. So this is their boat. This is staffed by the fire department. These are, I think in this video, Seagirt lifeguards.
Now, how fast from the Barnegat Inlet, how fast can you get, if they launch?
These guys are out of the Manasquan Inlet.
So what's the time frame from?
They know it. There is a number. I don't want to speak incorrectly. It's faster than you might think, but they do get out quick. But they're also very proactive where they'll actually staff that boat when lifeguards go off duty on some of our bigger surf days with nicer weather. And they'll actually be out there. Yeah. And they've had some pretty legit rescues. A couple of their guys actually got some award from, I think Barnabas gave them a nice award. So there's that. And then this is another drill we did. You can see a lot of the agencies here on the beach. This is there's Tim down there. He loves his gadgets.
Yeah, well, we got 2 jet skis at our beach, but you see what's in the driveway here? We have did you see the?
I did. Yeah, that little.
It's a 15 foot.
inflatable.
It's a 15 foot with
it's cool.
with the 70 horsepower, and I got the lifeguard. I've got a Van Dyne in the backyard too. That's
nice. All right, I got to check that out before I leave.
Well, it's all covered up, but yeah.
This is so this is another drill we did.
Oh,
this
is
a submerged swimmer drill, and the whole thing here is like just doing link up drills with these guys. Like get out of your comfort zone. So in these lines, you have police officers, lifeguards, firefighters. And they get to the beach, and in the order by which they arrive, they're assigned a supervisor, and they go out and they do a search line. They start running search patterns in the water, regardless of what agency you're from.
You guys got any scuba team? Do you have a scuba team?
We do not.
So on a submergent, who what is that left up to the Coast Guard?
So the dive team gets dispatched in our area. Manasquan Fire Department has a dive team, but the county has a pretty significant dive team that's run through the sheriff's office.
Is that who does
now,
it?
This opinion might hurt some feelings, but I'm under the impression that dive operations are recovery operations, not rescue operations. And the second an incident transitions from rescue to recovery, I'm out. That's not my forte. Whatever you need, I'll help you.
Yeah.
But, so that's, I mean, you'd have to have a diver on.
We actually, I don't know if it's really beneficial, but we got a sea bob, and we thought about
they're pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I think it's easy. I think it could be dangerous because if you set that thing and you go down, you could drown. I mean, you have to. But we thought about it as for recovery. But that's a good point what you made. I think that from a medical standpoint, sometimes the water's kind of cold. I don't know how long you got if somebody gets submerged. If you get them within 4 or 5 minutes, maybe even longer, 10 minutes, you might be able to save them. I mean, there's a possibility if they go into a laryngospasm where they don't breathe get all the water into their lung, you might be able to do it. Because I know I've done in the hospital my training. I've done CPR. People have been, not breathing. You could go 8, 9 minutes. They say 4 minutes, but they still got enough oxygen. Yeah. And if you could, that's a long time. I mean, I don't know about underneath the water, but that's you think about it, you could do a lot in that time. So I wouldn't give up. I think it's important to have that when I think a lot of people say, well, they're submerged, that's it, they're done. Especially not if it's cold water in a lake or something like that. But I think we should be training for that to try to have that, that like you said, submersion protocol. After 20 minutes or 30 minutes, it's probably then it's a recovery. But yeah, unfortunately, there's been a few in our area. Hopefully, this summer is not a bad one. But so what else? So what else do you train? So how else do you guys? So you do that training for the after hours stuff? Because I'm really interested in that. I didn't know you guys did that, and Timmy was talking about it. So how do you, when you guys meet? Like, how often is the training, and like how does
we'll do at least 1 or 2 tabletops leading into the season, and then we'll do another like command staff meeting kind of thing. Usually August, talk about postseason, because September's when a lot of the stuff goes off. And then I would say once in July, once in August. It takes a lot to get all these agencies together at the same time.
Do you guys like? So do you monitor the weather? Because I know when
Yes.
it's going to be a bad day. I know low tide's 3 o'clock. It's going to be northeast. It's 4 to 5 swell. I know it's going to be a shit show.
Yep.
So you guys kind of like get on, because to have your resources going all the time and be on call all the time, but you kind of do that where,
Yeah, everyone's aware when there's going to be an issue, and some beaches are good about putting lifeguards on after hours and even postseason, and other beaches, their administrations won't allow it. We're fully open, we're fully staffed, or we're fully closed, and you just kind of have to do your best with what you got at that point.
So let me ask this: so this is all volunteer. So there's a bunch of lifeguards and I guess firefighters and maybe police officers join this association. And is there, I don't want to say liability on you. I mean, if somebody gets hurt or something, how does that? Is there
There's a signed shared service agreement between the 3 towns who participate that outlines exactly who's able to participate and in what capacity. And so by nature of that, they then have whatever protections are afforded to them. If you're in the sense that like during a call out, you're acting under the authority of your position. So if you're a lifeguard, you're on duty as a lifeguard during a call out. If you're a firefighter, you're on duty as a firefighter.
If you got hurt or something injured, they would be protect you.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing. I always thought about the liability issues. It's so funny when I first started. You were on call 24 hours a day. That's what John Boyd used to say. We'd have to remember. You weren't working.
No, you don't remember
but
that.
we were always ready to go. And a lot of us, if we had a place in town, would be expected to come out. But this is such a great thing. I think that your model. How many other beach patrols do you know that have this after hour thing? Because I think it's so important. I think it's a great. I mean, did you guys invent it, or is this something that's been copied in other places? Do you know? Is it?
I
something?
joke around and say all the time, there's no such thing as original thought in emergency service anymore. You just you pick something up from somewhere else and see if it works for you. But I have no idea who invented it. I know Tim was instrumental in organizing it for those 3 towns that I'm now a part of. And then when I came up in the fire department in the beach, brought a little bit more of the fire department aspect into it with him and got those guys trained up on it. So there's ours, which is Manasquan, Seagirt, and Spring Lake. There's Belmar Water Rescue. They operate kind of independent. They're their own just for that town. And they have their own command staff and everything else, and they do a good job of running that. And then north of them is what's called the Answer Team, which is like the after-hours something network of first responders or something. But they're even like, they take it to the next level where they dispatch everything for everything. So if you have a swimmer in distress, that whole network gets dispatched. And it's like, a dive team from this agency, these 2 first aid squads, lifeguards from these couple towns. And it's a lot. But like I said, if you need it, great. If you don't, they have the system in place where they just turn them back around and it's all good. And they operate really well too themselves. And those towns are Avon, Bradley Beach, and Ocean Grove, and then Neptune, which it doesn't have any beachfront, but they have a pretty good stretch of Shark River and some other bodies of water.
See, I don't know how to ask this question because I was watching this one thing, and it was up in some of the lakes up in Michigan or New York, and what they wanted to do is they got rid of all the lifeguards, and they have a on-call team. And so their idea was to have an on-call team. have signs, don't swim here, and they would do it that way. I'm not so sure that's a good.
Horrible.
Yeah, it is horrible because you're and that's one of the things that some of the beaches around here tried doing that after the season. They had a recovery or what they call a recovery team, which is kind of really crazy. So So you wouldn't recommend that rescue thing to supplant or?
Oh my God, no! This is secondary. This is lifeguards are off duty, and I understand it doesn't make sense for these towns to staff a full beach when it's dark out and what have you. But you have to have something in place, and you might as well make that something as effective as you can.
Lifeguards are off duty. See that?
Yeah, never off duty, right?
I think that's a great thing. Timmy, I didn't, so how
it's cool. We have a lot of fun with it. Tim's super locked on. He's like one of the few people that I think rivals my passion for this stuff. I wonder if the other South Jersey beaches have it. I know our town. They do actually.
Oh, do they?
Speak to it a little bit from a fire side. These some of the fire departments on the barrier islands have like some really squared away water rescue teams. I'm assuming they're squared away because their equipment's locked on. I mean, they've got. I wish I knew what beach it was. I'll send you guys some information on it. But there's one fire department. They actually launch a jet ski from the back of a pickup truck. Into the water on the beach. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's some good stuff.
We do that.
Oh, is that you guys?
Yeah, our guys are. We got it. Yeah,
they got like the Zodiac and they got everything.
Our guys are really good because when we leave, we feel very confident. But they cover Seaside Park. They cover the state park. I mean, they go all the way up to
the
Point
bars
Pleasant.
and the nightlife and stuff. You guys got to be rocking at night.
Well, you know what we do now. I tell you, it's the dunes are a blessing in disguise. You used to be able to see from the boardwalk the beach, and if somebody's yelling, screaming, or somebody's out there, you could see them. Mm-hmm. Well, now you can't. So that's bad. But the other side of the coin is it's hard for people to jump over the fence and get down to the beach.
Yeah.
They don't even try it. What we do is we lock our gates at a certain time. So I think after 9 o'clock, the police go down, clear the beach, lock the gates, and unless you really jump over, you can't get on there. And they open them up early in the morning, which is a little bit. That's a controversial thing in my opinion. So they'll open up the beach. I don't know, when the sun comes up, and because people want to go watch the sunrise and all that.
Want to go fish too.
They want to go fish, but there's no lifeguards there, so that's a little bit of a situation. But a lot of beaches have that ability. Not all though, to close it down, and you don't have to worry about the night stuff. So I don't know about. I'm trying to think.
They keep cops out there pretty much all night.
Yeah,
I've been down there,
on the beach.
On the beach, at headquarters after hours, and cops have come up to me like, "Hey, you got to get out of here."
Well, I tell you what.
They'll have a quad down there.
Yeah,
at nighttime.
Yeah, it's Ortley and those beaches. I think it's a little bit different. That's where we still see the drowning at night because I don't think they have a way to close the beach down, but we definitely do. One thing is what I really like in our beach is we encourage the surfers. We get a lot of surfers at night, and thank God, they save a lot of people.
Oh, I agree 100%. I think anyone who does this stuff will agree with you. Yeah, they're always out there. They're looking. They're confident in the water. Yeah. They have a flotation device with them. Yeah, I mean, even the calls that we go on, by the time we get down there, very often they're clinging onto a surfboard out in the water.
Yeah. Yeah. The biggest problem is off season. That's why we stay now. We stay until the end of September because the beaches are open. And it used to be traditionally we'd leave, so the gates are not closed. Everybody wants to go on the beach, and it could be really bad. But I like that up where you guys are. That's a great thing. Especially, so when does the beaches like Belmar, Spring Lake, Seagirt, when do they shut down? Do they go longer into the season now, or they all shut down?
They all shut down Labor Day in the sense that that's like the end of full beach staffing. And then each beach has its own policy, whether it's completely closed, no lifeguards on the beach, period, end of story. Some will open up a very small section of beach and try to funnel people there. Some will only do the weekends. So it's different. It goes by beach.
And then that's when you guys are going to get called out a lot.
A lot. September's really busy for us. I mean, you get the hurricane surf and.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I think that's it's an interesting thing.
We do everything we can. I mean, we do. Monmouth County is one of the few counties that actually does a mandatory water rescue portion for police recruits. So we actually have a full day in the pool with them. And then there's a handful of other programs that we try to run, which just getting these people exposure to water rescues, not necessarily to train them in a day or two to be able to effect a water rescue, but learn their limitations so they don't put themselves in a position of trouble, and also recognize when somebody else is having trouble. Because think about it, when you guys aren't there, it's those specials, the SLEOs that you have down on the beach.
That's I don't want you don't have to tell me policy, but I can tell you that's been an issue with the police department for years. We're not there, and then you have police go down to the beach, and then they go, if they're going to try to make a rescue, do they have the equipment? Do they have the expertise? And you don't want to put one of the police officers in jeopardy, lives in jeopardy. So it becomes a real hot point issue. I know there's some towns that their police are not allowed to go in the water. Period.
Correct. Yeah.
It's interesting. The Coast Guard. I tell you right now, the Coast Guard. It's very limited who could go in the water or not. It's a rescue swimmer. Everybody else, no. But the Marine Police, different story. I know that over the years they'll like take your shit off and get in the water.
Yeah, John Wayne time.
John Wayne time. But that's why people think, well, with the police, what are they gonna do? I remember way back when we were at this bar and there was people drowning in the water and somebody ran in. Is there any lifeguards here? And we went down here and there was like cops in the boat going sideways and they had they were in their underwear and we all helped out. But there was no, back in those days, any kind of, I don't even know if we had a fire department at that time that had a rescue, but it puts people out in jeopardy. That's good that you have that, where if the police all train, the lifeguards, the fire department, I think that's such a great thing to have. I marvel at that.
Just exposure, just an awareness level, understanding, again, recognizing what it is, understanding what has to get done. And again, they talk about it more in emergency management than anything else, but just developing these relationships, that's what's going to lead to a successful outcome. Like next time, I'm in Tom's River, it's not just, oh, this guy's a fireman here, this guy's a lifeguard here, this guy's a lifeguard there. It's like, oh, that's Doc Cashmore, that's Tyler, and because you guys have that foundation of knowing each other, it's going to lead to a much more successful operation, whatever it is.
Well, just think about it, that rescue with the boat. If you just had the fire department go down there, I mean, I could see that, especially if not every one of them has water safety behind their, expertise. Police department, the same thing. And then even the lifeguards, you need, I think that's a great to have all of those disciplines all together. It really makes a big difference, So what do you think, Tyler?
I agree.
You agree?
Yeah.
Tyler.
You guys have been chopping it up for like the past 45 minutes.
Tyler's repping like one of the most legitimate lifeguarding agencies out there today. I had a lot of anxiety, like, what kind of T-shirt should I wear?
Oh, he's the
because I'm going to be on video.
This is nationwide.
Yeah, he
likes locked on.
Damn near every county in America. YMCA.
Yeah. YMCA.
I was just there before this. That's why.
Yeah.
I walked in. I still had my whistle on.
Yeah, I swam at the Y this morning.
This guy walked by me this morning. He's swimming at my pool. Doesn't even say hi to me.
Was that bullshit? I was probably talking at a casino.
No, you're just too good to talk to the Y lifeguards.
You're
ocean guy.
So full of shit. Yeah. I tell you what, we had a couple shows about pool lifeguards, and there's they get sued more. I mean, there's several lifeguards that were charged with manslaughter. They have a very heavy duty, they have a very strict written protocol. And if they deviate from that, they could be considered liable. And then there was some prosecutors that went overboard, I think, and went past civil to criminal. Remember, we profiled that.
Yeah. Well, and the
going
thing
overboard for a public employee and prosecuting criminally. I can't
I've
imagine.
But the interesting thing about what Cashmore just pointed out, pools are certified by the Red Cross, and like he said, their requirements are very specific about the way you have to make a rescue,
and a little bit different than your USLA open water stuff.
If you deviate from that, like, you can be in deep shit. Whereas something that Chip Moore pointed out when we spoke to him, the lawyer from the USLA, is they write their stuff intentionally just to be a guideline. So then a beach patrol can take it and edit it to what they need. So that way nobody can come in and say, oh, you didn't make this rescue this way exactly how the USLA says. And we're like, oh no, that's just a guideline, So
Chip's awesome.
As opposed to where if you deviated from the written standard, it goes beyond civil, it could go into criminal. Like with Chip,
negligence, I guess you'd have to prove.
Well, Chip Moore, he said it multiple times. He goes, you could get negligence or gross negligence. But to get really criminal, he goes on the beach. The only thing he says, think about is you have to punch somebody in the face, you know,
Yeah.
Or be like sleeping on the stand.
But
or
even
like
that's
FaceTiming your girlfriend.
but that's
like,
even that he said that's not even criminal. But no, he said it's civil. But here's the thing: the point is that you know we talk about pool lifeguards. They have a high responsibility. We have, I don't know if we could pull it up. I don't know if you wanted to pull it up, but you don't have to do it. I was at Mount Vernon, and there's an indoor pool there. And I was talking to the lifeguards there. I mean, they got outside pool, inside pool, kids, you know, going all around. And they have cameras there too. So if the camera sees that you weren't attentive and somebody drowns, you know, you're supposed to be looking at every area like 30 seconds. I mean, it's a high level pressure. I was down in Florida and I watched the lifeguards. They pace back and forth on this like 10-foot spot, just go back and forth, back and forth. I don't know how they do that. I mean,
you know, like because
It's a long day.
I mean, it's a lot.
So I've been working at the Y for like 6 or 7 years now, and a lot of times, Hurricane Harbor, Six Flags will have their training there.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they require over there is when you stand at the edge of the pool, you have to do a full scan, and like you're like nodding like this like the whole time, right? And like you can't snap back until you've like completed that scan. And that, like, to me, when I look at that, I'm like, so what happens if, like, I'm doing my scan and something catches my attention this way, so I snap back, right? I hear something or I see something at the corner of my eye, and then back here, like, someone starts drowning. You know what I mean? Like, because of the very specific nature of the guideline there, well, now, because my attention was taken elsewhere and I didn't complete my scan, now, like, I've opened myself up to a lawsuit, which
Doesn't sound like a very effective way to run a beach.
Exactly.
No, well,
exactly.
well, that's why
that's at a pool because the pool is such a controlled environment.
Right.
Yes.
That's what Chip was saying, that they paint themselves into a corner, especially with the pool lifeguards, and that we did a whole expose on that. I didn't realize how tough it is, and he says they have these protocols. So they had the one where he was sitting on a stand. And it was the side of the pool, and some old guy went in there and he passed out and he drowned. And the lifeguard didn't look for like 2 minutes, a minute or 2 minutes, which maybe she was looking at something else. I don't think it was even negligence where she was on the phone or something or anything like that. They charge manslaughter.
And then you get
negligent
into
manslaughter.
Like the numbers of swimmers you're allowed, like one lifeguard for like 12 swimmers. And like, you know, I started at the beach, so with that background, I'm like looking at that thinking like I've watched like 200 swimmers at a time with like one partner.
Yeah.
And like they're like, I'm being told by this agency that I can't handle more than like 12.
Right.
You know.
Well, what's interesting about that, if you look at
I think it's more than 12, but it's
you guys have limit,
fairly low threshold.
But if you look at the New Jersey state law, it's under the health department, and you actually, it talks about how many lifeguards apart, one lifeguard every 100 yards. But if you have more than one beach, you're supposed to have 2 lifeguards on the stand. And if there's more, and it should be titrated to how many people are in the water. So theoretically, you know, if you have a high volume, you should have more than 2 lifeguards on the stand.
Yeah.
And but it's what's the word I want to use? It doesn't say a specific number, so that's a good thing. It doesn't pigeonhole you into that scenario. That's why I like about what we do. We try not to have, we have protocols, but we try not to have something that's so written in stone that if we deviate from that, we hang ourselves. Because you need to be flexible. So, you know. Anyway, what else? Anything else you wanted to?
You still rowing that Van Dyne much this winter?
No, but we're going to start. Well, I'm going to tell you our little secret. We have 2 Van Dynes in Lavalette on the beach. See, I used to work for Lavalette. I worked at Seaside.
Okay.
And I still work out with those guys. You know, I got carte blanche over there. And I used to do the tournaments. And then some of those guys went over to State Park, I was over there.
You're a turncoat, Catchman.
I'm a well, I was always Seaside. But now we have 2 boats there. I told him we're going to start rowing over there. So we start soon, depending on the weather. So we have a little circuit. We'll row around West Point Island, and we'll start paddleboarding and we'll start swimming. So,
nice.
But I have my own boat. So this boat here was built in, I want to say 95. So John Van Dyne, he's passed away. He was the father. And he built, this was one of his last boats I think he built. And we experimented with this. I knew him. He built our first he built, Seaside Heights had the first fiberglass Van Dyne.
Yes,
And,
you've talked about it before.
Yeah. So he designed this boat, and what he wanted to do, we put bailout holes in it, and we tried to make it like an AC boat.
Yeah, that's what I have. That's what I row.
Yeah,
I've got my own baler.
Yeah, it didn't work. So I had the holes. I had them closed up and everything. Yeah, and I had all the new wood and everything. So up there, if you take a look up there, you see that oar lock up there.
Yeah, worn to.
Yeah, right. That's my original oar lock. That's Joe Casino and I. That's how much we rode that boat. We wore that thing.
You love showing people that.
I love showing people that.
Oh, you said you brought us something.
I did. It's out in the car though.
No, we have to wait. We have to wait.
I was hoping we get the live reaction.
So what we do is we start training in May, and then we'll get ready. We open our beach Labor Day, but we start we might start 2 weeks before in Seaside. But we try to train. But I love rowing. I used to row. Oh my God, so much. I hurt myself a couple. Not the first year after Corona. I blew out a rib. That was bad, man. I couldn't train the whole summer. I couldn't breathe. It was kind of tough. Mm-hmm. Where I did it is on a paddleboard. I went down on a paddleboard. You know how when you paddle and you fall down, you hit your chin?
Yeah.
I went right down on my chest. And I must have just hit it the right way, and I felt this pain in here, and it's how it is. We would blow everything up. We just keep training. Get better.
Yeah.
And I was swimming, paddling, swimming, and boy, it just got worse and worse. But it was only when I worked out, and then it went away. I figured it wasn't a heart attack; I would have died. But then it got to the point where I couldn't even sleep anymore, and I had to back off. So I laid off on the rowing, but now I'm lifting and getting back into it. I love the boat, and Joe and I we
do it year round. I row year round.
Oh, you do row? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Where's your boat at? Where's your boat at?
So fucking.
I keep it in a garage. My mom owns a shop on Main Street in Belmar. She's got like an old garage in the back, so I keep it in the back there.
Nice.
I'd rather not keep it outside.
So you got it's an AC?
Yeah, it's an AC.
Which one is it?
Self-bailer.
I'm trying to think because there's different models, right?
Is that the one you had the videos of on your Instagram?
Yeah,
it's got like the nice real wood.
I just redid the gunnels last year, so they're really nice.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Like a really dark stain on them. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, it came out really nice. But but you talked on one of your podcasts about the Van Dynes not being as fast as the ACs, and in that case, you're right. The self-bailers blow them all out of the way, but everyone was always under that impression with the AC short boats as well. And I'm not going to say you put the right rower in either one. I think it would be still a pretty good competition. Case in point, did you guys go to Red Bull?
No, but Casino was there. He told me about it. Yeah, so I don't know what boats.
Yeah, I think like the Red Bull tournament was the first time you really saw a handful of ACs go head-to-head with Van Dynes, and there were Van Dynes beating the ACs, the short boats.
But maybe the short boats. But if you take the same person, will they get the same time? I mean, it's a matter of the design of the boat and also the weight.
I'd really be curious to see. And I'm a diehard AC guy. It pains me to say that, but
they're light. They're light as
the heavier the surf, the older the Van Dyne I want to be rowing.
Yeah,
I just want the heaviest, bulkiest boat.
Those things just handle so much better in the surf, the Van Dynes.
Yeah,
I've only had the chance to row one a few times.
Oh, you got to come down to our beach and hop in the boat with one of us. Man.
Casino we had a shock dory, which was the
old California.
Yeah,
they still row them out there.
Yeah, well, we had that, and we used to row that a lot. And then we had the Hankins, and I used to row Hankins. And
I would love to row one of those.
Yeah, they're a great boat. Hankins is very, very. It's like almost like a bathtub, very deep. Somebody has to have one.
Manasquan still got one.
Oh, they still got one.
It doesn't make it out on the beach much, but. But I know they've got one. They might honestly have one or two more than that.
They were great boats through the surf. They really were, man. Yeah. They would fly through the surf.
Well, I mean, that was the original surf boat. Yeah. I mean, he modeled it after the Seabright skiff, which is like the true original surf boat, and that was the original one built for lifeguards.
Well, I'll tell you, not a secret, but here's the deal. I'm trying to think what year, maybe after 2000. So the Van Dynes were built with a specific measurements, where the seats were placed, where the gunnels were placed, and it didn't change forever and ever and ever. And
they were always fiberglass, right?
No, they were wooded in the beginning. Then they went to fiberglass.
Okay.
But the design, the measurement of the seats, the gunnels, it was all mathematically figured out, and it was never changed. And a lot of people wanted it changed. When John died, when the father died, the son eventually capitulated and then started making different models. First of all, when they started, I forget what year, the fiberglass resin was changed, so the boats became a lot lighter. So if you get an older boat, like I have a 95, it's heavier right off the bat than, because it's different fiberglass. So that changed, number one. Number two is he started moving around the seats and the gunnels. You could place them wherever you want, And so they changed up the distance from one seat to the other. So you could have a boat now that could be totally different. So to have one Van Dyne as opposed to the other Van Dyne, I don't know if any races they measure it, but just so you know. And there was a couple knockoff companies. There was a couple people that made the Van Dynes. They knocked them off. I don't know if they bought the if they got the hull.
That's funny. I would like to get my hands on one of those.
Yeah, so if you get in a Van Dyne, and I rode one that was I forget what beach it was. It was built differently, and you could feel it. Your feet.
I got a question for you, Catch. What do you think, like right now, would be like the most rare surf boat, like the hardest one to find?
Well, a Van Zandt. Van Zandt.
There weren't many of them to begin with, though, right?
No. They were, and I don't know if they ever made them fiberglass, but Van Zandt was one. That was a big one.
I just saw one pop up kind of recently.
Yeah,
somewhere.
They Van Zandt. I remember the Shock Dory. I don't know if they have any more, because AC, and then different ACs, Van Dyne. I don't know what else is out there.
I would say it's a Hankins, not.
And Hankins,
they were very common, but I think it's more so just the historical value of a Hankins, because that's where Van Dyne came from. That's where AC came from, and Hankins was the only one doing it for so long. It's like such a piece of history to get your hands on one of those.
Plus the wood, it doesn't last. I mean, it deteriorates.
And he would actually like physically go exploring for good pieces of wood to make surf boats.
That's cool. I gotta look more into Hankins.
I remember, that they were. He used, again. I'm pulling shit out of my ass, but I think he used two different kinds of woods. Wood that's really good for a boat is cedar, but it's not hard. So cedar is resistant to water, to bugs, stuff like that. But the other side of the coin is it's soft. So and then they would put oak in there somewhere. And but I remember Jackie Casino, who's now the captain of Seaside Park. We would sit there and stuff packing in between the boards, because that's how the boat was. It was these boards, and they would leak, and the boat would expand and contract. So you'd have to stuff this caulking in there. It's like it almost looks like a cotton, and then you would put some kind of material over it. I don't know.
There's
caulking.
There's an old VHS tape, like a documentary style kind of thing, of Hankins and his whole operation. I would say like early '90s. It was just when people were starting to make fiberglass boats. So I want to say it was like early '90s, and someone took the VHF and put it on YouTube recently.
No way.
So you can actually like go YouTube, Charlie Hankins, and it's a pretty long video, but check it out.
Our first,
we should definitely show that.
Yeah. Our first fiberglass was in the '60s, but there's a really iconic picture of Hankins with Joe Casino and Gary Azzolini. They're the two individuals going up over a wave. I want to say National Geographic. I think it's in a National Geographic.
No shit.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It's up in their headquarters, and it's pretty good. Those boats were great. They went through the surf. But I've taken I could tell you, guarantee this. You could take a Van Dyne in northeast storm, a northeast blow, with two individuals who are good, and you get that boat out.
No doubt.
No doubt. I mean, we used to ride waves. I mean, we get the shit beat out of us, but we've done it. I mean, I know I've done it, and it can be done. That's why they're such a great boat. You could get out. I mean, it's a small boat, but and especially if you have somebody who knows what they're doing. But I remember getting thrown all around. So.
Have the ACs are just so squirrely.
But you don't. If you ever so in your beaches, if you haven't done a Van Dyne, do you ever ride a surf boat in as a like for surfing? Have you ever surfed a surfboat in?
Yeah, all the time.
Oh, which boat?
It's like my favorite pastime.
Okay, I thought you didn't do Van Dyne. So okay, I wasn't sure.
The
sorry.
short boat ACs, we surf them. They don't surf nearly as well as the Van
but you
Dynes.
take the Van Dynes out. Okay, so
we ride them like you guys would have Van Dyne, but they don't surf like the Van Dynes, and we don't drop the oar like a rudder in the back either. Something about I can't speak intelligently about it. I'm not familiar with boat construction, but it's something about how the bottoms are shaped.
Right. Right.
The ACs are flat bottom boats.
Right. You go all over the place.
Yeah, they're super squirrely. We do it, and we have a blast doing it.
Oh, I didn't know you. On my boat, on the stern, I actually have 2 cutouts, so you could drop the oar.
Yeah, that's cool.
The only thing is when you drop it in there, you could break it. But I didn't know if you did that. I used to love that. We used to ride those boats in, and they're nice doing that. And there's another picture of Junie Boyd. So he was the assistant captain, and it's on a surfing magazine somewhere. And he used to surf the boat just with his body English. He would stand on the stern, and as the boat comes in, he would hop around. I even seen him jump to the other seat, but he would just move around the back stern seat.
Badass.
And he picked the waves. He was smart. See, he knew what waves to pick and what not waves to pick. But there are some iconic pictures of that out there. I don't know if he's trying to find them. No, he's trying to find them.
I found this little video on a Seabright skiff. Let me see. Let's try a screen overlay.
I think that's part.
I don't know if that's going to work. You could try it.
You know what? I will find it and send it to you. It's probably like a 20-30 minute video that I'm talking about. That's So
you can hold on. Because we have never done this before. I just got to expand this window here.
You can see there's a bunch of museums around.
I think you were fine. You should have just did it that way.
A bunch of nautical museums.
Just do what you're doing. Yeah, you had it right.
There we go. This is what I wanted.
Yeah, this is our new program here.
Yeah.
It's called Ecom. Yeah, so we haven't done this yet. We would just usually have iPads and do it, but we just got it not too long ago, so we're playing with it. This is a.
Yeah, it's just a short little.
There we go. So this is a Seabright skiff.
That looks like a Hankins.
Wow.
So you see, even if you look at the old Coast Guard stations, the National Life-Saving Service, Surf Life-Saving Service, whatever.
The United States Life-Saving Service.
The United States Life-Saving Service. They all have modifications essentially of the Seabright skiff, but those are the original surf boatmen.
Yeah.
Those boat crews.
Yeah. No, that's amazing.
Gosh, this is way off topic, but my girlfriend just texted me and she wants you to explain what body English means.
She don't know what body English means? Oh,
she says it drives her nuts every time she hears
go back.
I thought you meant to say body language. You meant to say body English.
That is what he's saying. He's
body English. So get this out of here. Actually, he uses his body.
Like an 80s pop
so I
song.
guess what I mean by that, body English, it's the movement of your body. So
it's body language.
It's body language, right?
What makes it English?
I don't know why they use that terminology. I don't know why they use that terminology, body English.
You're the only one that uses that.
Yeah, am I?
I've never heard it.
We'll have to look it up.
This video is great. Let's skip ahead to it. Ooh.
Yeah, it's cool.
Oh, these are the life-saving service
That's
guys.
it, man. That's the OG. And that's Hankins. So this is part of that video I was talking about.
Okay. Wow.
That's Hankins. That's his old shop. And he would actually personally go out and hand pick pieces of wood that he liked, that he think would make a nice, the base of the boat. I don't know if it's the hull or what, but that flat part that it was built around.
Wow.
That's amazing.
See the entire film at www.folkstreams.net.
Yeah, that's your homework assignment.
Yeah.
Everybody who's listening,
Let's see, try to get back to the...
Oh, we're good. I already got it. Then you just...
Boop. There you go. You still got the picture-in-picture there. You want to get rid of that.
Boop.
Yeah, this is our new program, so it's pretty neat what it can do.
This is an awesome setup.
Yeah.
I would never expect anything of this caliber out of Lifeguards because we are just
who do we think we are?
A disastrous group of people.
No. We're gonna have a studio downstairs. We're gonna. What we'll do is part of this video when we're done. We're gonna take some snippets of this and have clips. But we're gonna take our next game is to do a lot of videos.
Cool.
We're getting excited about that. So
yeah, check them out. We got a couple cool edits on YouTube. A bunch of stuff on Instagram. I posted a video on Instagram about a week ago that the reason I made it was so Beach Patrol can take it and use it as a recruitment tool. So anyone who's listening that works for a beach, has friends that you're trying to convince to become lifeguards, we've all been there trying to convince our buddies to come down to the beach. Go to lg.association and send them that video. It's really great, and it just...
Perfect.
I tried to show how fun the job is. So hopefully people use that.
Perfect. So
also, it's Water Safety Month.
it is.
You're changing my
No,
camera now.
no. Yeah, it's too late now.
We've been here for an hour and 38 minutes.
It's the wires. I don't like the wires there. I get anal about that.
But yeah, it's Water Safety Month, so think about that. I'm actually looking into some resources that we can share next week that make it really simple. A colleague of mine, a woman that lifeguards with me at the Y, pointed out some great resources that we're gonna hopefully share with everybody next week. Follow us,
All right,
LG
good.
Association. Email us, drkatchmar@icloud.com.
Yeah,
Try to call us, if you want. If we're saying something you don't agree with or you do agree with, give us a call. Here's our number. You can call us live. We bought a phone just for it, so let's use it. And
We'll say it in the phone number. It's 732-237-4949. We'll have calls. Go to the webpage too, and give us come on to the webpage, JerseyShoreFootandLegCenter.com. And again, for people on the podcast, it's drkatchmar@icloud.com, and you can send us an email. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll return your email, and we'll send you some stickers. We gotta get him some stickers.
I got a bunch of. We'll talk off air, but I got a bunch of stickers to send out. People have been reaching out.
Good. All right. So how about we ready to close this? We had a good day.
Yeah,
This is great.
Got
man.
another show at 6:30 today.
Yeah, that was good. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, Rusty stole prime time from me.
Yeah.
He did. Hey, that's what happens when you get on the schedule first.
Yeah,
It's all right.
that was awesome.
Next time we get you on, we'll make sure you get the prime time slot.
So we want
Thank you.
to. We would ask
for our
you.
millions of listeners.
We want to ask you. I'm very sure for on our beach show we have a whole thing on our speaker system, and at the end we say, "Stay out and stay alive." So if you could end the show. And
Stay out, stay alive? Is that
well,
what
we have it. Yeah, we say these beaches are closing for today. No more swimming.
We got to get better at briefing the guests
I
before
know.
this point.
That's all right. It's good. It's good. It's kind of fun. It's like that one guy used to say, "What's your favorite color?" Or that's how we end our beach. At the end, we'll say.
cool.
So if you could say, "Stay out and stay alive."
All right, thanks for having me. Stay out, stay alive.
Yep. All right, Tyler. So let's goodbye, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We have another show tonight at 6:30. I'm very sure it's going to be really good.
Rusty Silverman from Lifeguard Art. See you soon, Rusty.
All right. Bye-bye.